and you can still use humor to prove a point. Man, why are there so many freaking rebels? I think I'm crushing them slowly. Also another thing I've been doing is Diana has been forcing me to watch all the Harry Potter movies with her because she's, you know, a huge Harry Potter fan. Me, not so much. No, not exactly the biggest fan of Harry Potter. But anyway, she's been forcing me to watch these all these movies, and they're not that great. Personally, I think they do get a little bit better as, you know, they go on, and they kind of find themselves in a cinematic sense. But I was thinking as I'm watching this movie that don't these wizards have like conventional classes? Like, don't they have like an English class and a math class and a, you know, a science class and a history class? You know, all those basic kind of classes. Do they have them? Do they exist? Because, you know, every time I read up through the 5th book, and I can't remember any time in the book where like they said, you know what, I'm going to math class now or whatever, or I'm going to English class. So, you know, either they apparently maybe they have these classes and the book just never mentions them, but you'd figure that, you know, they'd mention it at some point, like just maybe an offhand mention. Or all these wizards just running around completely retarded because they don't know how to construct a basic sentence because they don't have English class, and, you know, they don't know how to use Pythagoras' theorem or anything because they don't have math class. And they can't identify any of the elements on the periodic table because they don't have a science class. But, you know, they can levitate nothing. They can levitate shit like it's nobody's business. And I mean, even if you're a wizard, I still think you need science at some point. You still need to know what stuff is made out of, and you still need to know how, you know, things are formed and what the basic elements of everything are. You still need, you know, science at some point. And you still need, you know, math at some point, or else you can't, you know, you can't count, or you'd have no idea how an economy would work or anything. Yeah, do they have like wizard like economists? Like, there was one point in the first movie, I think, where like Harry Potter goes to the bank and the bank's run by like trolls or something, or maybe it's goblins, I can't remember. So maybe like the goblins are like the wizard's world's economists because, you know, the wizards are too stupid to figure out how the system works. Man, I need a good war, you know? It's kind of banking on that, Bavaria would declare war on me. Again, because they had done it before, those dickwads. Apparently the Bavarians have a pretty sweet empire going on, although it's split. Because they own a large blob in Germany, and then they have this appendage oozing out of the blob, which is conquered some parts of. They have Switzerland, and then some parts of France. Anyway, the last thing I have written down on my sheet of paper that I want to talk about is iPhone games, because I haven't had a lot of time to do conventional gaming, but I have had time to sit down and, you know, play some iPhone games on my iPhone, and I'm realizing that gaming on the iPhone is actually pretty sweet. Like, it's actually a legitimate form of gaming, almost. And my favorite game on the iPhone thus far has to be a game called Game Dev Story. And if you have an iPhone and you haven't checked out Game Dev Story, you definitely should. It's kind of like a video game developer's tycoon is the idea. And you create your own video game studio and you name it whatever you want. My video game studio is called Hammer and Sickle. And the N is like, it's not and, it's an N with a little apostrophe. And we created various kinds of historical shooters and other historical kinds of games. I remember our first historical shooter was called Kulak Genocide, and eventually Kulak Genocide would go on in its sequel iterations to become one of the best-selling game of all time. And like Kulak Genocide 4 or 5 was declared Game of the Year. So anyway, it's an awesome game. I highly recommend you check it out. I've been thinking of doing like iPhone reviews of iPhone games because they're small and it's something I could play through and formulate an opinion and do a review and write a review on relatively quickly. The only problem is that I can't record footage for iPhone game unless there's some kind of app that lets you record footage from games, and if that app exists, I am not aware of it. So the only thing I can do is like record footage off an iPhone from my camera, which looks decently enough, I guess, but it's not the most ideal choice. But I was thinking of doing like a opinion piece, because I've been tossing around the idea in my head of doing like vlogs that are kind of like kind of opinion pieces about the gaming market and games in general. Like I've been doing plenty of that kind of stuff on my Coffee House channel, just more about history and politics and philosophy and that kind of deal. And I guess it would make sense for me to do that kind of stuff in terms of gaming. And I want to do like a sort of like an analysis of the iPhone and like the gaming market and where the iPhone stands, and does it have the potential to become the best source of handheld gaming. And I've been thinking about it, and I don't think it will overtake the Nintendo DS or upcoming 3DS, mainly because developers still don't really take it seriously, and it's harder to make money off like an iPhone game than it is a cartridge game that you sell for $60 versus Angry Birds that you sell for 99 cents. I mean, even though those guys sold like the guys, I think it's like what, like 6 million copies of Angry Birds or whatever, that's still probably only $3 million that they got in sales, because they're only selling the game for 99 cents. And I'm not sure what Apple's cut of it. Maybe it's 50%, or maybe it's more like 70%. So maybe they got more like $4.5 million. And that sounds like a lot of money, but when you look at EA, that makes like I think like billions and billions and billions of dollars in profits, a big publisher or developer is not gonna blink at $4.5 million, whereas they could make a game on a DS. Oh no. So we had a crash there. An update came up, and then my trade embargo from Bavaria. Maybe they're planning it. Maybe they're gonna attack. I'm ready for them. I'm ready for them this time. Last time they kicked my ass in a war. Did not go very well. I'm ready for these bastards this time. Have my border heavily defended. This time, they defend it along a river line and everything. Anyway, what I was saying basically, you know what? So basically, you know, a developer or publisher can make a game on the DS, sell it for 50 or 40 bucks, or you know, whatever the price tag is, and make considerable more profits on that. Especially when you consider that the install base for the DS is something like, I think it's like 150 million at this point. Not sure how many iPhones there are out in the world, and I don't know how many people who own an iPhone are actually downloading games and stuff for it. No, I'm certainly downloading games on my iPhone, but that's because I'm a gamer, obviously. So I don't know how much is going to go on right now. There's not any really big wars that are brewing. Looks like Great Britain has been, they kicked the crap a little bit out of the Mamelukes. It's Great Britain? No, they own parts of India too. Looks like Japan has finally been expanding a little bit. Took a foothold in Korea. Poor Korea. Getting crap kicked out of it. And the Ming Dynasty is apparently huge at this point. Looks like Japan has been taking some islands here and trying to recreate the Japanese Empire. Well, actually create a Japanese Empire. The Japanese Empire won't exist for another couple hundred years. Uh-oh, what's this? Kaiser, our old monarch, has decided to die a little too soon. His heir is not quite ready to assume the role of a monarch. A regency council from the upper nobility is ruling the nation. We await the ascendancy of our new king, so we are limited in our diplomatic options. Kakjal. That means how sad in Russian, for those of you who don't know. It's a good phrase. I like to use it a lot.